stretching out there, Tomas?
Yeah. Trying to.
Yeah,
So
you need
it's
to
early.
do that before a podcast. Snow continues to make harvest interesting. Work ethic. Working on it, in fact. And whatever other shenanigans we may come up with as a third segment, if we even want one. Welcome to Friday on the Fly. This is the official 25th edition of Friday on the Fly. We are at our, what is that? What's that called? Is there an anniversary title? Like there's your golden anniversary. There's, which is 50,
I'm
right?
sure there is. It
Is this
probably
our
has something
silver?
To do
Is
with,
this silver?
No,
Okay.
paper. I don't know. That's
Aluminum.
That's what they're. Coffee. That's our anniversary this morning. Is coffee.
Yeah.
We're-
That's true. Yeah, I do need my coffee. It's cold,
We're there.
folks. Not complaining because we're still alive.
Yeah.
So just a matter of fact, it is cold. So Tomas, how are you?
Doing
We've
well,
been
sir.
absent for a week.
Yeah.
Figure we might explain that just really quickly.
Yeah, we spent
Yeah.
last week at the CNH Parts Depot during National FFA Convention, and check out some of the videos and different things that we've put on there. We got
yeah,
to talk
on
with
Facebook you can
Eric
check them out.
Tharp and Bruce Roach.
Yep.
We
We also
senior director for CNH Parts
For
with Eric.
senior
I mean, that's pretty cool.
director for distribution of all of North
Right.
America, which
Yeah.
goes all the way around the world. He literally has to what do you say there? He's under the leadership of people in Italy. Let's
Right.
just
Yeah.
put it that way.
He directly reports. to
Yeah,
Italy.
report. That was what I was looking for.
So we were out there last week and we did some interviews and got to talk to some young people and build some content, and we attempted a Friday on the Fly, but
Friday
had
was a
technology
disaster in many
issues.
ways, other than getting, I am so thankful we managed to get the Eric Tharp and Bruce Roach
Yeah,
one. It actually
that's
worked.
good.
So, yeah, like Tomas said, check that out on Facebook. And guys out there, guys and gals, I always say guys just for everybody. I'm not PC in that way, so sorry if that's something that you get annoyed by with me. But so everybody out there listening, all listeners, something that really helps us get the word out is our listeners sharing the podcast via your social media platforms. So we really appreciate that. You don't know how far even a simple like goes, because there's all sorts of algorithms that you have to work against in social media nowadays. LinkedIn is actually the most organic site currently, where you just get organic views if people are interested. It's not based on algorithm and stuff like that yet. But Facebook, it's hard to get the word out if you don't have people liking it and sharing it. So, because there's not that organic reach. So anyway, would really appreciate that. We appreciate all our listeners we have currently, but we would always love to reach more. So we appreciate your
Sure.
help in that way.
it's harvest time,
Yeah.
and that's I've been in Racine, Wisconsin all week at a sales training with some of our team members. And
Talk about that. What was going on there?
Yeah, it's called New Ag Salesperson Training. It's something that all of our people, in their first year, it's required by case that we go to this training. So we send everybody up there. I got to kind of tag along this time and just learn what it's about, see what our people kind of go through. That way we can, speak a common language when we're back down here. But we were up there and really nothing harvest-wise got going. They got like 3 inches of snow yesterday.
Gotcha.
And so it's definitely challenging when you go in the corn belt further north.
Mm-hmm.
But I got home last night about 1 o'clock, and the cornfield around our house had started to be harvested. So harvest is progressing down here, I think, maybe a little more quickly than it is up in some of those challenging places where they're fighting some weather with snow. But it's turned bitterly cold. It's going to be cold all next week. We've got some chance for some snow.
Bitterly cold this morning.
So it's
for November, the first week.
for where we're at. So
and we don't have an article related to harvest and snow necessarily. All you have to do is be part of Twitter, ag Twitter, you could say. Hashtag ag Twitter. Just look that up, and you will see plenty of posts of people harvesting in the snow, or they're done harvesting and they're they're working their ground in the snow. So a lot of that going on. Just makes it difficult. So
there's been some pretty neat pictures posted out there, and videos of people.
I liked one. A guy made he said, "Oh, look, my combine made a snow angel."
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Yeah.
I thought that was good. So anyway, social media is pretty fun right now because people are getting wrapped up. Still a lot to do, but some people are getting wrapped up, which we're all thankful for. Yields are actually turning out better than people predicted, I think.
I've heard similar stories. What got planted actually turned out fairly decent around here. There's pockets. It's so hit and miss. So I'm really interested to see if we can progress and continue to push along in harvest and what that means for the end of the year. And I think everybody after this spring was projecting that it was going to be late, and it still could be, but
Yeah.
I think it's been pretty blessed here so far,
Right.
with those type of things. So
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting seeing though where the ground hasn't gotten too hard, and seeing I saw a guy yesterday post that the tracks were basically carrying their weight, like they were paying for themselves
Yeah.
yesterday because he had ruts deep trying to pull the wagon with he had a
yeah, it's not good.
grain cart with tracks and
Mhm.
his grain cart tractor had tracks, which that was the only way they were going to get harvest. So
Yeah.
yeah, fun times. So speaking of that, this time of year and regardless of the season, what the season brings, I should say, one thing that is outstanding with farmers, and this isn't there's a lot of talk out in social media world in agriculture that can get annoying, honestly. I've seen a lot of farmers the reason I say this is farmers get annoyed by it, I see. So I'm not trying to overly flatter the agriculture industry here, but just we wanted to talk about the work ethic that agriculture offers. And I think just to give a little bit of context as to why I thought it would be good to talk about it this morning, Tomas, I listened to a podcast called the Doan Cast. It's by a guy named Darren Doan. He's up in Moscow, Idaho. Not Moscow, Russia. Moscow, Idaho. Moscow and not Moscow. So there's a difference even how you say it. But anyway, he he had an interesting interview podcast with a young man who is getting into like marketing and stuff like that, but his background is in farming. And what Darren said to him was, you are going to far exceed all your peers who weren't from the farming industry, because the one thing you have going for you, if nothing else, is that having grown up in agriculture, you know how to work. You know how to work hard, and you know how to work long days. And so I thought it'd be interesting. I thought that was a great point. And that's coming from a guy, Darren grew up in Thousand Oaks in Ventura County, California, near LA there. And so he doesn't have a farming background, but he's observed that about about the industry. So Tomas, we have an article though that goes along with that, right? By Joni Steers, I'm guessing is how you say that, from Illinois Farm Bureau Partners. Yeah, right?
Yep, that's the website.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. It's a really interesting article. We'll post it with this podcast, the link here. Go in and read it. It's a really interesting perspective about, how do we pass this work ethic on to the next generation?
Right.
There's a lot of reflection back there, and what does work ethic mean? And I'm going to quote something here. It says her parents and grandparents showed my generation how to treat everything as you own it. So treat everything as if it's yours.
Yeah.
To feel satisfaction in a job well done with or without financial gain. It can be tough.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid wasting time. We waste a lot of time.
Oh gosh, yes.
We waste
Don't get me
so
on that,
much
Tomas.
time.
Don't do it.
Yes, don't go down the rabbit hole. Restrain yourself.
I will keep my
to give
fluffy white tail nice and clean.
To give 100% and stick with it. To make lists and cross things off. To associate guilt with watching TV time on a warm, sunny day instead of going outside.
Yeah.
To earn recognition as a doer, a responsible citizen, spouse, parent, employee who contributes for the betterment of all without prompt. Without somebody telling me I have to do it, I'm just going to go do it. I see something that needs done.
Yeah.
Let's work together for the better and common good. So it's just interesting. It kind of strikes a nerve when you read through some of these things. It's like, oh man, sitting inside watching a baseball game instead of going outside and actually playing a game of baseball with your family. That's
a little different, right? Because that's kind of recreation, right, versus work ethic necessarily. But it requires more energy. I get where you're going with it.
Yeah,
sure.
well, and it's just they mentioned something like that down here at the bottom of the article where it's work ethic and being part of your family. They kind of associate it both together with agriculture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the family business is on the farm, could be on the farm, less and less of that now, but you're involved. You don't have time to waste time.
Yeah.
You've got cows to feed and stuff to do, machinery to fix, whatever it is, and there's just never that really downtime to where you lose it. And even like in my position now, driving a lot, you can waste a lot of time just in the car
That's why you
doing
should
nothing.
listen to Plow Talk.
Well, exactly,
I
right?
mean, come
Plow
on,
Talk,
redeem that time.
There in today's day and age and all the technology that we have and everything that's out there, there's so much stuff you can, just kind of dive into to recapture some of that time.
Right. And another thing I wanted to talk about concerning this and concerning what you even just said, let me first read a paragraph, though, from this article. Quote, generally, the longer back in years that you reflect, the more strenuous and tedious the farm work. Automation, modern equipment for farm and home, and new concepts make some manual labor more convenient or unnecessary. Parenting styles evolve. We know more now than we did then, and society tolerates less. My semi-retired farmer neighbor cultivated fields at age 5 on a cabless tractor. That makes my kids' daily egg chores and fall-time sessions digging potatoes together as a family seem like, well, small potatoes. And that's something I wanted to say is that when I'm thinking about the work ethic, what I'm thinking about is, are you getting stuff done? And so what the distinction here is that very point. The work is actually accomplishing and being productive. What has changed is, what does that look like? And I think that's where the frustration has come from a previous generation, is that very point that I just read from that paragraph is work looks different now. Mm-hmm. So work for a lot of people, work is only ever one thing, and that is manual labor. If you are not performing manual labor, you're not working, and you're basically skimming by off everybody else's money, getting paid to do something that isn't legit. There are people who legitimately think that.
Sure.
Not taking into account all the engineers that designed, by sitting behind a desk, the things that they use to do that manual labor. Mm-hmm. So that's where the distinction is the divide is coming more and more, I think, on perspectives on work ethic. So, for instance, you could be, say in my position, right? I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm just saying there's the potential to do a lot of work in marketing, governing social media platforms, putting out content. We hear this word a lot, especially in marketing: content. If you're not putting out content daily, you're losing people. And so that takes a lot of work and a lot of fortitude to actually want to continue creating new stuff every day. So that's different, though, than when I, for instance, worked at the ranch out in California, where it was 10 to 12 hours of manual labor up in the mountains, literally digging trenches with a shovel or moving water pipe or whatever else that we were doing that day. That's different, but the same ethic is behind both of them, right?
Sure.
Do you agree with that? What do you think there?
Yeah, well, it's just like positions at Bain Walker Equipment. A technician is doing physical labor a lot.
Right.
They're out there working with their
and
hands on machinery.
That.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. A salesman or a parts counter person or any of those positions
accounting
are doing just HR. Right. It's a different type of work, but if you put the same ethic behind it, you're going to get the same results.
Right.
What's ever expected out of that position. So
I think that's just encouraging for kids, for younger kids, because they're being told, I think potentially they could be told within the ag industry, with some folks thinking that correlation between work and manual labor, that's the only kind. I may be wrong on how many people actually believe that. I've just run into that in my upbringing. But I hope that young people can be encouraged that if they're spending 10 hours a day trying to figure out how to best promote a business, say with marketing, or if they're figuring out, software to be able to enhance the farmer's ability to get data that's actually useful, they're not wasting their time. They're actually still being very hard workers, albeit not with a shovel in hand.
Sure. I think there's a misnomer too that if I'm going to go and get a college degree, I don't have to work as hard.
Right.
Well, it may put you in a different position. There may not be as much manual labor, but that work ethic, the force that you put behind that is going to be the same no matter what you do. Should be.
Yeah.
I mean, and you want to get those similar results no matter what position you have. So.
Right. And to bring that background full circle back to the ag industry, I still think the ag industry is one of the top industries to see hard work ethic.
Sure.
So even if there is a lot that is still manual labor, which I completely, like I said, respect. I'm not trying to dog on it at all. I think the ag industry, I think that we can actually set up a great example for other industries in our work ethic. So any final thoughts on that little subject, Tomas?
Everybody work hard. Keep it up.
Yeah, exactly. During this harvest and everything.
Yeah. I appreciate everything everybody does here at Bain Welker. I know we're kind of getting towards, I mean, we've had guys working hard here for, extended hours for a couple months now. So let's keep being safe. Let's keep working with our customers. Keep everybody out there who's farming, keep staying safe yourselves, and let's keep trucking along here and trying to get everything done before it snows too bad. I don't know. We did mention last time, I think we mentioned it. It snowed on the first snow of the year was on the 31st of the month, so we're going to have 31 snows this year. So let's get stuff wrapped up before we get too much snow.
Yep. So kind of a little preview for this upcoming regular episode of Plow Talk. And by the way, man, every morning now my throat is just, I'm coughing a bunch. I'm trying to clear my throat. Tomas, if anything random comes up in your mind that you wanted to talk about as kind of a whiplash segment, that's fine. But we are already at the 16-minute mark. But before that, a little preview for this upcoming Monday, the release of episode 38. We had one of my good friends and actually the father of one of my best friends growing up, Jim Keith, on this podcast, who for 47 years has been a farrier and also has done a lot of blacksmith work. So he's worked on shoeing horses for the last 47 years of his life. Talk about manual labor, but also talk about having to use your mind, which is something we talked about at the end of that episode, a misconception about blacksmithing and that kind of thing. It's actually more brain than brawn once you get into it. So that was a fun episode. We just talked about the history of the farrier and the blacksmith and how they relate to agriculture and how important they've been in agriculture up until the 20th century. For the blacksmith, farrier is still very important today because there's actually 3 times as many horses in the U.S. as there were back when agriculture used horses primarily. So that's an interesting little fact for you. But anyway,
it likes their horse racing.
Yeah, it was a fun episode. Learned a lot. We went to a lot of different places. We may even have him on again to kind of hone in on one specific thought. And anyway,
I remember baling hay out there with him.
Yeah, behind their house.
Yeah, behind their house. It was, hard work ethic, right? We're building it.
And they usually had a baler that wasn't working too well. That was
there were always the potential for some breaks during the day.
There were very many potential breaks that you could count on. So
I did want to mention real quick, Roger Penske and Penske Entertainment Corp purchased the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I kind of be remiss if I didn't mention something huge in the sports world.
Right. And that's one that I actually I knew was happening.
Yeah.
Unlike baseball.
It's the IMS. It's one of the most iconic places in the world, and for that to change hands and for an owner of a
45 or something like, or 54, some like 60 or 70 years ago was the last purchase of it. It was the last transition of that.
45.
45.
Yep, is when the Hallman family, Hallman and Company bought it. Yeah. So it's had a long history here recently. It's been doing a lot of great things. They have stuff going on all the time, but for something like that to change hands, it's a big deal. That wasn't exactly something that, hey, we're going to bring a box of hundreds here in a briefcase and just exchange it over the table. That
takes more paperwork than a tree will provide.
It's just pretty neat. So interesting thing here for the history of
here in Indiana specifically and worldwide, really.
A lot of visitors.
They've contributed to sports in a huge way there. So, all right. Well, hope everybody's doing well. Everybody let's see. Will we be back on your birthday? Is that when we're back in here? Otherwise, I'm going to tell everybody to shout out. Your birthday is Wednesday.
On a Wednesday, yeah.
Everybody on Wednesday, remember to email, text. I I don't know, send a plane into the sky to say happy birthday to Tomas. It will be his 30th, correct?
Yeah, we turned 30 this year.
Yeah, we did.
It's exciting.
Yeah, 3 decades. How about that? All right. Well, that's all I have for you. I hope everybody continues to do well with harvest, and we'll return next week
Have a good weekend.
To join us again. Tomas, again, I appreciate you. I didn't bring you candy, though.
I don't need candy.
Okay.
Thank you.